Captain Kim Tae-ho never expected his routine diplomatic mission to turn into a galactic nightmare. He was just 28 years old, fresh out of the Earth Space Academy, and this was supposed to be his first easy assignment. The Vulcan Empire had invited Earth to discuss simple trade agreements, nothing more complicated than exchanging human technology for alien minerals. The Vulcan Palace was breathtaking. Made entirely of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light, it stretched across an entire mountain range. Tae-ho had never seen anything like it. The alien king, a tall creature with skin like polished marble and eyes that sparkled like stars, welcomed him with surprising warmth. During the welcoming ceremony, the king presented Tae-ho with what looked like a small, glowing crystal. "This is a bondstone," the king explained through his translator device. "It shows that Earth and Vulcan are now friends." Tae-ho accepted it gladly, feeling the warm crystal pulse against his palm. It seemed harmless enough, just a symbolic gift between allies. But 3 days later, everything changed. Tae-ho was eating breakfast in his guest quarters when alarms started blaring throughout the palace. Vulcan guards rushed past his window, their crystalline armor clanking with urgency. His translator crackled to life with panicked voices speaking in the alien language. Then his human escort, Ambassador Park, burst through his door with a pale face. "Tae-ho, we have a serious problem," Park said, breathing heavily. "The king is dead, heart failure, and apparently you're now legally responsible for his entire kingdom." "What are you talking about?" Tae-ho nearly choked on his alien fruit. "I'm just a trade negotiator." Park sat down heavily. "That crystal you accepted? It wasn't just a friendship token. According to their ancient laws, accepting a bondstone from a dying king makes you the heir protector, and heir protectors have certain responsibilities." Those responsibilities, Tae-ho learned, were bigger than he could have imagined. The Vulcan royal family had 7 daughters, each born with incredible powers linked to their planet's survival. Princess Ira could control the atmosphere itself. Princess Nera managed all the water on their world. The others controlled earth, fire, wind, light, and gravity. Together, they kept their planet alive and stable. But here was the problem. Their powers were tied to their emotions and mental state. Without a strong bondmate to help them stay balanced, their abilities would spiral out of control. The princesses would die, and their planet would become uninhabitable. Millions of innocent Velvans would perish. "So what exactly are you saying?" Tae-ho asked, though he was starting to fear the answer. "According to their law, you must marry all 7 princesses to stabilize their powers," Park explained. "If you refuse, it's considered an act of war against the Vulcan Empire." Now Tae-ho found himself standing in the massive galactic court, surrounded by alien judges from 12 different species. Some looked like giant insects, others like living trees, and one resembled a floating ball of light. They all stared at him with expressions he couldn't read. The head judge, a creature with tentacles for arms, spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "Human Kim Tae-ho, you stand accused of accepting blood debt to the Vulcan crown. How do you plead?" Tae-ho's hands shook as he gripped the podium. One wrong word here could start an interstellar war. But somewhere on Vulcan Prime, 7 young women were slowly dying because of a crystal he'd accepted out of politeness. The weight of an entire civilization rested on his shoulders. "Your Honor," he began, his voice steadier than he felt, "I played for the chance to find a solution that saves everyone." The truth about the Vulcan princesses hit Tae-ho like a punch to the gut. He sat in the palace's medical wing, staring at holographic displays that showed 7 young women slowly dying from their own incredible powers. Dr. Kang, Earth's top xenobiologist who had rushed to Vulcan Prime, explained the situation with grim determination. "They're not just princesses, Tae-ho," Dr. Kang said, pointing to the swirling energy patterns on the screen. "They're living life support systems for this entire planet. Each one controls a fundamental force that keeps 40 million Velvans alive." Princess Era, the eldest at 25, controlled atmospheric pressure across 3 continents. Right now she was lying in a crystal bed, her breathing labored as wild pressure changes rippled around her. Without conscious control, she could accidentally crush cities or create deadly vacuum zones. Her sister Nera, who managed the planet's Water cycles had already caused several unexpected floods when her emotions spiked during their father's funeral. "How is this even possible?" Tejo asked, watching Princess Vera unconsciously create small earthquakes every time she shifted in her sleep. "How can living beings have this much power?" "Evolution," Dr. Kang replied. "Velkan Prime is an unstable world. Thousands of years ago, their people developed these abilities to survive. The royal family became the strongest, and their bloodline concentrated these powers. But there's a catch. The abilities are too strong for one person to handle alone." The royal physician, an elderly Velkan named Healer Zenth, joined their conversation. His crystalline features showed deep worry as he gestured toward the princess's medical readings. "In our history, royal bonding has always been necessary," he explained through his translator. "A bondmate provides emotional stability and shares the mental burden of controlling such forces. Without this connection, the powers consume the host from within." Tejo watched Princess Kira, who controlled fire, as small flames danced unconsciously around her fingers. Her temperature readings were dangerously high. "How long do they have?" 3 months, maybe 4, Healer Zenth said quietly. Princess Lyra's wind powers are already causing pressure headaches that last for days. Princess Zira can barely look at light without creating dangerous energy bursts. And Princess Mira... He paused, looking at the youngest princess, who was only 19. "Her gravity control is making her bones increasingly dense. Soon she won't be able to move at all." But here was the problem that kept Tejo awake at night. Nobody knew if human biology could handle Velkan bonding. Dr. Kang had run every test possible on Tejo's blood samples, and the results were inconclusive. "Velkan bonding isn't just the emotional," Dr. Kang explained. "It's a physical and mental fusion. Your nervous systems would partially merge. Your brain chemistry would change. Some humans might adapt, but others..." He didn't finish the sentence. "Others might die," Tejo completed grimly, "or worse. The bonding process could drive you insane or turn you into something that's no longer human. We've seen what happens when incompatible species attempt psychic fusion. The results aren't pretty." Tejo looked at the 7 princesses through the medical bay's crystal walls. They were so young and completely innocent in all this. Princess Aera had even apologized to him yesterday, tears in her large silver eyes, as she explained that she never wanted to trap him in their families' ancient laws. "What about traditional Velkan bonding partners?" Tejo asked. "Can't they marry their own people?" Healer Zenth shook his head sadly. "The royal powers are too strong now. 3 generations ago, we lost a prince when he tried to bond with Princess Hera's grandmother. The psychic feedback killed him instantly. Only someone from a completely different species might have the mental flexibility to survive the process. So I'm either their only hope or I'm going to die trying to save them," Tejo said. "That's about right," Dr. Kang confirmed. "But there might be another option. What if we don't follow their traditional bonding methods? What if we find a uniquely human solution?" Tejo felt a spark of hope for the first time in days. Humans had always been adaptable, creative problem solvers. Maybe their greatest strength wasn't in following alien traditions, but in creating something entirely new. The emergency meeting in Seoul's government complex lasted 18 hours straight. President Kim stared at the holographic display showing Velkan Prime's deteriorating situation, while dozens of Earth's top officials argued around the conference table. Coffee cups and energy drink cans littered every surface as humanity's leaders grappled with their most impossible crisis yet. "We can't just sacrifice one man to save an alien planet," Defense Minister Lee argued, slamming his hand on the table. "What if the bonding process kills him? What message does that send about how Earth treats its people? And what message does it send if we let 40 million innocent beings die?" Foreign Minister Park shot back. "This isn't just about Tejo anymore. Every alien species in the galaxy is watching how we handle this. Our future in space depends on it." Dr. Yang, Earth's leading psychologist, had been quiet throughout most of the debate. Finally, she stood up and activated her own holographic display. "I think we're approaching this all wrong," she said calmly. "We're trying to force one human to carry an impossible burden. But what if we don't have to? The room fell silent as Dr. Yang's presentation began. Charts and graphs showed human psychological profiles, compatibility matrices, and something she called distributed bonding theory. Look, she continued, humans have always been pack animals. We work best in teams, not as isolated individuals. What if instead of forcing Tai-Ho to bond with all 7 princesses, we create 7 individual partnerships, 1 human for each princess, chosen specifically for psychological compatibility? President Kim leaned forward with interest. You're suggesting we send 7 volunteers instead of 1? Exactly. Each human would undergo extensive psychological evaluation to match with a specific princess. A calm, steady personality for the one who controls earthquakes, someone creative and flexible for the princess who manages fire. We play to human strengths instead of trying to copy alien traditions. The idea was revolutionary, but it made sense. Within hours, Earth's military and civilian databases were being searched for suitable candidates. The requirements were strict. Unmarried men between 25 and 35, excellent physical and mental health, high stress tolerance, and most importantly, genuine willingness to potentially spend their lives on an alien world. Park Jun-ho was the first volunteer selected. A former Air Force pilot with nerves of steel, his psychological profile showed perfect compatibility with Princess Aira's atmospheric powers. I've spent my whole career dealing with pressure changes and atmospheric conditions, he told the selection committee. This is just taking it to the next level. Lee Dongmin, a hydrologist who had spent years studying Earth's water systems, was matched with Princess Nira. His calm, analytical nature and deep understanding of water dynamics made him ideal for someone who controlled planetary water cycles. Choi. Woo Jin surprised everyone by volunteering. The former firefighter had retired early after an injury, but his experience with dangerous, unpredictable fires made him perfect for Princess Kira. I've been around fire my whole life, he said with a grin. How different can alien fire be? The selections continued rapidly. Jang Hyun-woo, a geologist who studied earthquakes, matched with Earth-controlling Princess Vera. Yoon Sang-ho, a meteorologist fascinated by wind patterns, was chosen for Princess Lyra. Shin Jae-sung, a physicist specializing in light and energy, paired perfectly with Princess Zira's abilities. But the biggest surprise came when they analyzed who should partner with Princess Mira, the gravity controller. The psychological computers kept returning the same result. Kim Tae-ho himself was the perfect match. His adaptability, diplomatic skills, and existing connection to the situation made him ideal for the most challenging bonding of all. This is completely untested, Admiral Park warned during the final briefing. We're essentially conducting the first interspecies psychological experiment in human history. These men could die, go insane, or be permanently changed. We understand the risks, Tae-ho replied, speaking for all 7 volunteers. But we also understand what happens if we fail. We're not just representing Earth anymore. We're representing the idea that different species can work together. Dr. Yang ran final psychological evaluations on each man. The results showed something remarkable. When working as a team, their collective psychological profile was nearly perfectly balanced. Where one man had weaknesses, another had strengths. Together, they might actually have a chance. Gentlemen, President Kim addressed the 7 volunteers. You're about to attempt something that has never been tried in galactic history. You're not just saving lives, you're proving that humanity deserves its place among the stars. The landing shuttle touched down on Velkan Prime's crystal platform with a gentle hum. Tae-ho stepped out first, followed by his 6 teammates, each carrying nothing but a small bag and enormous hopes. The alien world's twin suns cast everything in a strange purple light that made the humans squint and stumble slightly as they adjusted. Princess Aira waited at the front of the reception group, her silver hair flowing like liquid metal in the alien breeze. Her large eyes, the color of storm clouds, fixed immediately on Park Jun-ho. The former pilot straightened his shoulders and approached with military precision, offering a respectful bow. Your Highness, Jun-ho said through his translator device, I'm honored to meet you. Aira's expression remained cold as ice. You are a warrior, she stated flatly. I can sense the violence in your past. How can someone who has taken lives help me preserve them? Junho's confident smile faltered. He had expected many things, but not outright rejection. I was a pilot, Your Highness. I protected people. By destroying others, Era replied, turning away. Perhaps Earth's selection process was flawed. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Taeho watched nervously as his teammate's face flushed red with embarrassment. This was not how they had planned to start. Fortunately, Princess Nira stepped forward with genuine curiosity. Her blue-tinted skin seemed to shimmer like water as she approached Li Dongmin. You study water systems on your world? She asked, her voice carrying the sound of gentle streams. Dongmin's face lit up with enthusiasm. Yes, Your Highness. I've spent 12 years analyzing how water moves through different environments. Your planet's water cycle is absolutely fascinating. The way you manage 3 different types of precipitation simultaneously is incredible. For the first time since the humans arrived, one of the princesses smiled. Finally, someone who understands. Most beings think water control is simple, but managing planetary systems requires constant attention to temperature, pressure, mineral content. Exactly, Dongmin interrupted excitedly, then caught himself. I'm sorry, Your Highness. I didn't mean to speak over you, Nira laughed, a sound like bubbling brooks. Please call me Nira. Anyone who appreciates the complexity of water management is welcome to interrupt me. While Nira and Dongmin bonded over their shared passion, Choi Woo-jin approached Princess Kira with visible nervousness. The Fire Princess was stunning but intimidating, with red gold hair that seemed to move like flames and eyes that literally glowed with inner heat. I've worked with fire my whole life, Woo-jin began carefully, but I've never met fire that could... Think back, Kira raised an eyebrow. And what do you think of thinking fire? Honestly, it's terrifying and amazing at the same time, Woo-jin admitted with a nervous laugh. Kind of like my ex-wife, the unexpected joke caught Kira off guard. She snorted with laughter, and small flames danced around her fingers. But these flames seemed warm and welcoming rather than dangerous. The other introductions varied wildly. Jang Hyunwoo impressed Princess Vera by immediately commenting on the interesting geological formations he'd observed during landing. Yoon Sang-ho made Princess Lyra giggle when he asked if she ever got dizzy from controlling winds in multiple directions. Shin Jae-sung almost blinded himself, staring directly at Princess Zira's light-based powers, which somehow endeared him to her. But the most intense meeting was between Tai-ho and Princess Mira. The youngest princess approached him, with obvious nervousness, her dark hair floating slightly as gravity fluctuated around her. I'm sorry you got stuck with me, she said quietly. The others have useful powers. I just make things heavy or light. Just? Taeho reached out to shake her hand, then immediately regretted it. The moment their skin touched, the world lurched. Suddenly he weighed 3 times normal, then felt like he might float away, then crashed back to regular weight. His stomach churned with the rapid changes. I'm sorry, Mira gasped, pulling her hand back. I can't control it when I'm nervous. It's okay, Taeho said, though he was still dizzy. We'll figure it out together. Dr. Kang rushed out with her medical scanners, hardly believing the readings. Their brainwaves are completely synchronized, she announced excitedly. Neural activity is stable, and Sang-ho's vital signs are normal. This is exactly what we hoped for. The success gave everyone new hope, but their celebration was short-lived. That evening, a delegation of Velkan nobles demanded an audience with the human team. Lord Vex, a stern-faced alien with crystals growing from his forehead, spoke for the group. This human experiment is a disgrace to our traditions, he declared coldly. For generations, Velkan royalty has bonded through ancient rituals. These aliens mock our customs with their informal methods. But it's working, Taeho protested. Sang-ho and Princess Lyra achieved a stable bond. One success means nothing, Lord Vex snapped. What happens when your human bodies reject our princess's energies? What if you corrupt their powers permanently? You risk destroying our entire royal bloodline. The political pressure intensified over the following days. Representatives from other alien species arrived to observe the proceedings, many of them openly skeptical of humanity's approach. The Zephyrian ambassador questioned whether humans had the mental capacity for complex psychic bonding. The Christarch delegate suggested that Earth was using the crisis to gain political influence over the Velkan Empire. "They're treating us like we're some primitive species," Junho complained after a particularly hostile questioning session. "Just because we don't have natural psychic abilities doesn't mean we can't learn." But the real threat came from within the Velkan court itself. Lord Vex and his supporters began actively working to undermine the human bonding project. They spread rumors that the humans were weakening the princesses rather than helping them. They questioned every small setback and magnified every minor failure. The sabotage started subtly. Medical equipment malfunctioned at crucial moments. Translation devices suddenly developed glitches during important conversations. The bonding chambers experienced mysterious power fluctuations that disrupted delicate procedures. "This isn't coincidence," Dr. Kang told Taiho privately. "Someone is deliberately interfering with our work." The situation came to a head when Dongmin and Princess Nira finally achieved their breakthrough. After Sang Ho's success, they had followed the same approach, informal conversation leading to natural mental synchronization. Their connection was beautiful to witness, with water throughout the palace responding to their shared emotions, creating fountains and streams that danced in perfect harmony. But just as their bond stabilized, the chamber's power systems completely failed. Emergency lights flickered on as Nira collapsed. Her connection to Dongmin severed violently. The sudden disconnection sent shockwaves through the palace's water systems, causing pipes to burst and flooding several rooms. "Sabotage," Dr. Kang confirmed grimly, examining the damaged equipment. "Someone overloaded the power circuits deliberately." Lord Vex appeared within minutes, his expression showing false concern. "Another human failure," he announced loudly. "Look at the damage their reckless methods have caused. Perhaps it's time to return to traditional Velkan bonding techniques." "Traditional techniques that killed the last prince who tried them," Taiho shot back angrily. "Better to die preserving our culture than live corrupted by alien influence," Lord Vex replied coldly. That night, as the humans dealt with flooded rooms and damaged equipment, they realized they were fighting more than just biological compatibility issues. They were challenging an entire society's beliefs about tradition, purity, and the right way to save their princesses. They'd rather let the princesses die than admit humans might have a better solution, Wu Jin said bitterly. "Then we'll have to prove them wrong," Taiho replied with determination. "Not just by succeeding, but by succeeding so completely that even Lord Vex can't deny it." The real test was just beginning. The emergency alarm screamed across Velkan Prime at 3 in the morning, jolting everyone from sleep. Taiho stumbled out of his quarters to find palace corridors filled with panicking aliens running in all directions. The twin suns, normally a gentle purple glow in the sky, were flickering with violent orange flares that cast eerie shadows across the crystal buildings. "Solar storm," Dr. Kang shouted over the noise, her scanner beeping frantically. "The biggest one in recorded Velkan history. Radiation levels are already climbing past safe limits." Princess Mira found Taiho in the chaos, her face pale with terror. "The storm will destroy our atmosphere in 6 hours," she gasped. "Our magnetic field can't handle this much energy. We need all 7 princesses working together to create a planetary shield, but most of you don't have stable bonds yet," Taiho finished grimly. Only Sang Ho and Princess Lyra had achieved a complete connection. Dongmin and Princess Nira had been close before the sabotage interrupted them. The others were still struggling with basic mental links. Lord Vex appeared with his faction of traditional nobles, their expressions mixing fear with smug satisfaction. "This is what happens when you abandon proven methods," he declared. "The princesses are too weak from failed human experiments to save us now." "What would you suggest?" Taiho demanded angrily. "Your traditional bonding methods killed the last prince who tried them." "Better to die with honor than live in shame," Lord Vex replied coldly, even as the crystal walls around them began to crack from increasing radiation pressure. But Princess Ira stepped forward, her silver hair whipping in the supernatural winds created by the solar storm. "Enough," she commanded. Our people are dying while you argue about honor. If the humans have even a small chance of helping us succeed, we must try." The 7 human princess pairs gathered in the great throne room, the only chamber large enough and heavily shielded enough to attempt what they needed to do. Outside, the sky was turning an ominous red as solar radiation began stripping away the planet's outer atmosphere. "Here's the problem," Princess Lyra explained, her voice strained. "From the effort of keeping palace air pressure stable, creating a planetary shield requires perfect coordination. Each of us controls one aspect: atmosphere, water, earth, fire, wind, light, and gravity. If even one element is out of sync, the shield collapses." "And we've only achieved 2 stable bonds," Sang-Ho added, sweat beading on his forehead as he helped Lyra manage increasingly violent wind patterns. "Then we do this the human way," Tae-Ho announced firmly. "We don't need perfect individual bonds, we need perfect teamwork, and humans excel at teamwork." Dr. Kang quickly set up portable communication equipment. "I'm linking all of you through audio and video feeds," she explained. "If you can't achieve full mental bonding, at least you can coordinate through constant communication." The plan was desperate but simple. Sang-Ho and Lyra would anchor the atmospheric component, using their stable bond to create the foundation. The other pairs would support them by handling their specific elements, communicating constantly to maintain synchronization. "Starting atmospheric shield," Sang-Ho announced, his eyes glowing with shared power as he and Lyra connected completely. Around them, the air itself began to shimmer and thicken, forming the first layer of protection. "Water systems responding," Dongmin called out, though his bond with Nira was still incomplete. Through sheer determination and their shared understanding of fluid dynamics, they managed to coordinate the planet's water vapor into a secondary protective layer. Wu Jin and Kira were struggling more. Their fire connection kept sparking unpredictably, sending dangerous energy surges through the shield system. "I can't control it," Kira gasped. "The solar fire is interfering with my flames." "Don't control it," Wu Jin said suddenly, remembering his firefighting days. "Channel it. Use the solar energy itself as fuel, but direct it away from the planet." It was a crazy idea, but it worked. Instead of fighting the solar storm's fire, they redirected it, creating a stream of flame that flowed around Velkan Prime like a protective river. "Water has a soul," Nira exclaimed, and suddenly every glass in the room began overflowing. As Tae-Ho watched his teammates struggle with their first day, he realized they had vastly underestimated the challenge ahead. These weren't just alien princesses with unusual powers. They were individuals with completely different worldviews, values, and ways of thinking. Making this work would require more than just psychological compatibility. It would require genuine understanding, patience, and maybe a little bit of miracle. The bonding chamber looked more like a hospital operating room than the romantic setting Tae-Ho had imagined. Crystal walls pulsed with soft light, while alien medical equipment hummed quietly in the background. 7 pairs of nervous humans and princesses sat facing each other on cushioned platforms, with Velkan healers and human doctors monitoring every vital sign. "Remember," Dr. Kang announced over the intercom, "this is just the first attempt. We're starting with the lightest possible mental connection. If anyone feels uncomfortable, speak up immediately." Choi Woo-jin sat across from Princess Kira, both of them staring at each other uncertainly. The Fire Princess had explained that bonding required complete emotional openness, something that terrified the former firefighter more than any burning building ever had. "Just think calm thoughts," Kira said softly, her eyes beginning to glow with inner fire. "Let me feel what peace means to you." Woo-jin closed his eyes and tried to remember his most peaceful moment, sitting by a lake during his last vacation, watching the sunset reflect on still water. But as their minds touched for the first time, something went horribly wrong. Instead of calm water, Kira felt Woo-jin's deeper memories, the heat of burning buildings, the adrenaline of running into danger, the satisfaction of controlling destructive flames. Her own firepowers responded to these intense emotions, and suddenly both of them were surrounded by a ring of blazing heat. "Too much," Woo-jin gasped. But it was too late. The flames jumped from the platform to the crystal walls, which began to crack from the sudden temperature change. Alarms started blaring as palace guards rushed in with fire suppression equipment. "Connection broken," Dr. Kang shouted. "Medical teams to Platform 3. As the flames died down, Wu Jin and Kira stared at each other in shock. Both were unharmed, but breathing heavily, and Wu Jin's hair had temporarily turned reddish gold, matching Kira's fire-colored locks. "Well," Kira said with a shaky laugh, "at least we know the connection works." Across the room, Zhang Yunwu was having his own problems with Princess Vera. The Earth Princess had warned him that her powers were tied to strong emotions, but feeling someone else's thoughts directly was overwhelming for both of them. "I can sense every rock and stone for miles around," Vera whispered, her silver eyes unfocused. "But now I'm feeling it through your scientific mind. It's like seeing the planet's skeleton for the first time." Hyunwoo was equally amazed. Through their tentative mental link, he could actually feel the geological processes happening deep underground. Tectonic plates shifting, mineral formations growing, the slow dance of stone that usually took millions of years to observe. "This is incredible," he breathed. "I can feel the mountain's foundation, the way the crystal formations connect." But his excitement triggered Vera's emotional response, and the floor beneath them began to vibrate. Small cracks appeared in the crystal platform as minor tremors rippled outward. "Hyunwoo, you need to stay calm," Vera warned, but her own anxiety made the tremors worse. Soon the entire chamber was shaking, and several pieces of medical equipment fell over. "All connections terminated," Dr. Kang ordered, as the shaking continued for another 30 seconds before finally stopping. The other pairs were having similar struggles. Park Junho felt like he was drowning in Princess Era's atmospheric awareness, suddenly conscious of air pressure, wind currents, and oxygen levels across the entire continent. The overwhelming sensory input made him dizzy and nauseous. Lee. Dongmin's connection with Princess Nira was slightly more successful, but even he struggled with the alien sensation of feeling every drop of water on the planet. "It's like trying to count raindrops in a thunderstorm," he explained afterward, his voice hoarse from strain. Yoon Sang-ho actually passed out when Princess Lyra shared her wind sense with him. The ability to feel air currents, pressure changes, and atmospheric movements across vast distances was simply too much for his human brain to process all at once. Shin Jae-sung's attempt with Princess Zira resulted in temporary blindness when her light-based consciousness flooded his visual cortex with pure energy. He spent 20 minutes seeing nothing but brilliant white light while his nervous system adapted. But the most disturbing result came from Taeho's bonding attempt with Princess Mira. When their minds connected, both experienced the terrifying sensation of gravity becoming completely random. For several minutes they alternated between feeling crushingly heavy and weightlessly floating, while objects around them randomly fell upward or sideways. "I think I'm going to be sick," Taeho groaned as gravity finally stabilized. But when he looked in the mirror later, he noticed his bone density had temporarily increased, making him feel unusually solid and heavy. Dr. Kang reviewed the results with obvious concern. "Every human subject experienced temporary physical changes," she reported. "Hair color shifts, bone density changes, enhanced sensory perception. Most concerning, several subjects show signs that their brain chemistry is actually adapting to process alien thought patterns." "Is that dangerous?" Taeho asked, still feeling the strange weight in his bones. "We don't know," Dr. Kang admitted. "You're becoming something that's never existed before. Humans adapted for alien bonding. The question is whether you'll still be human when the process is complete." Despite the frightening unknowns, all 7 men insisted on continuing. The princesses were growing weaker each day, and time was running out. As Wu Jin said while examining his temporarily flame-colored hair, "If we have to become something new to save them, then that's what we'll do. That's what humans have always done. We adapt." 3 weeks of failed attempts had left everyone exhausted and discouraged. The palace medical wing looked like a disaster zone, with scorch marks from Wu Jin and Kira's experiments, cracked floors from Hyunwoo and Vera's tremors, and broken equipment from various gravity mishaps. The human volunteers were showing signs of stress, and the princesses were getting weaker each day. Yoon Sang-ho sat in the garden with Princess Lyra, both of them avoiding the bonding chamber after his latest fainting episode. The Wind Princess looked pale and tired, her usual energy drained from weeks of unsuccessful connection attempts. "Maybe we should give up," Lyra said quietly, watching leaves swirl aimlessly around them. "I can't control my powers anymore, and every time we try to bond, you get hurt." Sang-Ho had been thinking the same thing, but seeing her defeated expression changed his mind. "You know what? Let's forget about all the medical equipment and formal procedures. Let's just talk like normal people." "Normal people?" Lyra laughed. "Sadly, I control the winds of an entire planet. You're from a completely different world. Nothing about this is normal. So what?" Sang-Ho shrugged. "I spent my career studying weather patterns, and you are weather patterns. Maybe instead of trying to merge our minds, we should just share what we love about wind." For the next hour, they simply talked. Sang-Ho described the joy he felt tracking storm systems on Earth, the beauty of watching clouds form and change. Lyra shared her experiences riding air currents across continents, feeling the pulse of her planet's atmosphere. Gradually, without trying to force anything, their thoughts began to synchronize. "Oh," Lyra breathed suddenly, "I can feel what you felt when you first saw a tornado form. The excitement, the scientific curiosity, and I can sense how you experience wind from the inside," Sang-Ho replied in wonder. "It's not just air moving. It's like a living thing with moods and patterns. Around them, the garden's chaotic breezes suddenly organized themselves into perfect spirals. The air pressure balanced naturally, and for the first time in weeks, Lyra's powers responded smoothly to her intentions. They had done it. The first successful human-Vulcan bond. But as the day progressed, the cultural differences became more apparent. Princess Aira continued to view Jun-Ho with suspicion, questioning every military decision he'd ever made. Princess Vera accidentally caused a minor earthquake when Hyun-Woo suggested a different approach to geological management. Even Princess Kira's flames flared dangerously when Woo Jin mentioned that humans sometimes used fire for destruction as well as creation. The most awkward moment came during the evening meal when Dongmin complimented Nira's water manipulation by comparing it to Earth's dam systems. Nira's expression turned horrified. "You trap water behind walls?" she asked in shock. That's like imprisoning a living thing." "We don't think of it that way," Dongmin stammered. "It's just water." Management. Hyun-Woo and Vera found their solution in Earth geology. "Imagine the planet as one giant crystal," Hyun-Woo suggested. "Not separate rocks and minerals, but one connected structure." Their Earth powers responded, creating a solid foundation that anchored the entire shield system. Jae-sung and Zira had perhaps the most crucial job, managing the light and energy aspects of the shield. "Think of it like a giant solar panel," Jae-sung explained. "We don't block the energy, we absorb what we can handle and reflect the rest." But the real test came down to Tai-Ho and Mira. Gravity was the key to holding everything together, but their bond was the most unstable of all. As the solar storm reached its peak, the gravitational stresses on their makeshift shield threatened to tear it apart. "I can't hold it," Mira cried, blood trickling from her nose as she pushed her powers beyond safe limits. "The gravitational forces are too strong." Tai-Ho felt the crushing weight of an entire planet's gravity trying to collapse their protective shield. His bones felt like they might shatter, and his vision was going dark. But through their incomplete bond, he could sense Mira's determination and fear. "You're not alone," he told her, grasping her hand despite the dangerous gravitational fluctuations. "We all anchor this together." Around them, the other 6 pairs joined hands, creating a human chain of support. Even without perfect individual bonds, their collective determination created something stronger, a network of shared human stubbornness and refusal to give up. The shield held. For 8 agonizing hours, they maintained their improvised planetary protection system while the solar storm raged overhead. When the radiation levels finally began to drop, 40 million Velvans were still alive, their world intact. As they finally collapsed from exhaustion, even Lord Vex was forced to admit the truth. "Perhaps," he said grudgingly, "human methods have some merit after all." But Tai-Ho was already thinking ahead. They had saved the planet, but this was just the beginning. They had proven that humans and Velvans could work together. Now they needed to figure out what that partnership really meant. In the weeks following the solar storm crisis, something extraordinary began happening on Velkan Prime. The human-princess pairs weren't just maintaining their bonds, they were discovering abilities that neither species had ever possessed alone. What started as a desperate attempt to save lives was evolving into something that would change both worlds forever. Shin Jae-sung was the first to notice the impossible. During his daily bonding practice with Princess Zira, he found himself doing something that violated every law of physics he knew. Instead of simply controlling existing light, they were actually creating new forms of solar energy. "Look at this," Jae-sung called excitedly to Dr. Kang, holding up a glowing crystal that pulsed with warm golden light. "Zira and I made this, together. It's not just stored sunlight. It's an entirely new type of energy that doesn't exist in nature." Dr. Kang's scanners went crazy analyzing the crystal. "This is impossible," she muttered, checking her readings 3 times. "You've created a stable fusion reaction at room temperature. This energy source could power a city for months without any fuel input." Princess Zira was equally amazed. "In all our history, light wielders could only redirect existing solar energy," she explained, her silver eyes sparkling with excitement. "But with Jae-sung's human perspective, I can actually understand how light works at a deeper level. We're not just moving photons around, we're creating them." The breakthrough inspired the other pairs to push their own boundaries. Yoon Sang-ho and Princess Lyra discovered they could create weather systems that had never existed before. Instead of just controlling wind and storms, they began crafting atmospheric conditions that perfectly optimized crop growth, eliminated harmful bacteria from the air, and even generated healing frequencies that helped people recover from illness faster. "Traditional wind control was always reactive," Lyra explained to a gathering of amazed Velkan scientists. "We responded to natural patterns, but Sang-ho's meteorological knowledge lets me understand why weather happens. Now we can design atmospheric conditions from scratch." Lee Dongmin and Princess Nira's water manipulation evolved beyond anything previously imagined. They learned to create water that carried enhanced nutrients directly to plant roots, developed streams that could purify themselves of any contamination, and even produced rain that carried beneficial minerals to exactly where the soil needed them most. "We're not just moving water anymore," Dongmin explained to his fascinated Earth colleagues during a video call. "We're programming it. Every drop carries specific chemical instructions that benefit whatever it touches." But perhaps the most dramatic transformation came from Choi Woo-jin and Princess Kira's firework. The former firefighter's experience with controlling destructive flames combined with Kira's elemental powers to create something unprecedented: fire that healed instead of burned. "Watch this," Woo-jin demonstrated, holding his hand directly in Kira's flames. Instead of burning, the fire seemed to repair small cuts and scratches on his skin. "We discovered that fire is just rapid energy transfer. By controlling exactly how that energy moves, we can make it rebuild instead of destroy." The medical applications were staggering. Their healing flames could mend broken bones in hours, cure infections without side effects, and even help damaged organs regenerate themselves. Velkan hospitals began requesting their assistance with patients who had been considered beyond help. Jang Hyun-woo and Princess Vera's earth manipulation reached equally impressive heights. Drawing on Hyun-woo's geological expertise, they learned to encourage crystal formations that could store massive amounts of information, grow building materials that were stronger than any known metal, and even create underground transportation networks that moved people safely across continents. "We're essentially teaching the planet to upgrade itself," Hyun-woo explained to amazed observers. "The Earth isn't just dirt and rock. It's a vast information storage and processing system that we're learning to program." Park Jun-ho and Princess Lyra overcame their initial personality conflicts to achieve something that left atmospheric scientists speechless. They developed the ability to create localized environmental zones, areas where they could establish Earth-like atmospheric conditions for human visitors or enhance air quality to levels that improved everyone's health and mental clarity. "Era taught me that atmosphere isn't just air," Jun-ho said, his military precision now applied to environmental management. It's the foundation of all life. We can actually design breathable environments that make people smarter, healthier, and happier. But the most profound change came from Tejo and Princess Mira's gravity work. Their bond, initially the most unstable, eventually became the most versatile. They learned to create gravity fields that enhanced agriculture, developed transportation systems that moved without fuel, and even figured out how to generate artificial gravity that could terraform uninhabitable worlds. Gravity affects everything, Mira explained, floating gracefully as she demonstrated precise control over local gravitational fields. Time, space, energy, matter. With Tejo's engineering mindset, I finally understand how it all connects. The chi, combined effect of all 7 enhanced partnerships, was transforming Vulcan Prime into something that exceeded both species' wildest dreams. Crop yields increased by 400%. Natural disasters became things of the past, precisely managed by the human princess teams. The planet's cities grew more beautiful and efficient as the teams learned to coordinate their abilities for massive construction projects. Even Lord Vex was forced to admit the obvious. What you have achieved surpasses anything in our recorded history, he told the human team during a formal ceremony. You have not merely saved our world, you have elevated it. But as Tejo looked around at their transformed surroundings, he realized this was bigger than just one planet. They had proven that 2 completely different species could not only coexist, but actually become something greater together. The question now was, what would the rest of the galaxy think of that? The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Court had never seen anything like it. Representatives from 47 different alien species filled the crystalline amphitheater, their various forms creating a spectacular display of galactic diversity. At the center stood 7 human men and 7 Vulcan princesses, hand in hand, waiting for a decision that would reshape interstellar relations forever. Judge Thane, the ancient Christarch who had presided over galactic law for 3 centuries, reviewed the evidence with obvious amazement. Holographic displays showed Vulcan Prime's transformation, cities that gleamed with impossible beauty, ecosystems that had been optimized beyond natural limits, and energy readings that defied conventional understanding. In all my years of service, Judge Thane announced, his voice echoing through translation devices in dozens of languages, I have never witnessed such dramatic positive change resulting from interspecies contact. The evidence is undeniable. These human-Vulcan partnerships have achieved something unprecedented. Ambassador Crix from the Zephyrian delegation stood to voice the concern many species shared. Your Honor, while the results are impressive, we must consider the implications. If other species attempt similar bonding experiments, the consequences could be catastrophic. Are we prepared to encourage such risky endeavors? Tejo stepped forward, his confidence strengthened by months of successful partnership with Princess Mira. Your Honor, with respect, the risk isn't in trying to connect with other species. The risk is in remaining isolated and afraid. Humans didn't succeed because we're special. We succeeded because we were willing to adapt, to change, and to put someone else's needs ahead of our own fears. The human approach is fundamentally different from traditional interspecies relations, Princess Aira added, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had lived through the transformation. Instead of trying to maintain their own nature while helping us, they allowed themselves to be changed by the process. That willingness to evolve is what made everything possible. Judge Thane consulted with his fellow judges for nearly an hour, while the chamber buzzed with quiet conversations in dozens of alien languages. Finally, he returned with a decision that would echo across the galaxy. The Galactic Court officially recognizes the human-Vulcan partnerships as legitimate and beneficial interspecies unions, he declared. Furthermore, we establish the Adaptive Partnership Protocol, allowing other species to explore similar collaborative relationships under careful supervision. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions, some species cheering, others expressing concern, and a few already making plans to contact Earth about potential partnerships. But the biggest surprise came next. Additionally, Judge Thane continued, this court recommends that Earth be granted immediate membership in the Galactic Council, with special recognition for their demonstrated adaptive partnership capabilities. Dr. Kang, watching from Earth via holographic link, nearly fell out of her chair. Humanity had gone from being a barely known species to gaining full galactic citizenship in less than a year. The celebration on Vulcan Prime lasted for 3 days, but for Tai-Ho and his teammates, the real celebration was more personal. Each couple had found something none of them expected when they first volunteered for this impossible mission: genuine love that transcended species boundaries. "I never thought I'd fall in love with someone who could accidentally crush me with gravity," Tai-Ho admitted to Princess Mira as they watched Vulcan Prime's twin suns set over their transformed world. Mira laughed, a sound like distant thunder that no longer frightened him. "And I never imagined bonding with someone whose first instinct is to solve problems instead of accepting them as unchangeable fate." Around them, the other couples were having similar conversations. Sang-Ho and Princess Lyra had discovered that their shared love of atmospheric science had grown into something much deeper. Dong-Min and Princess Nira spent hours designing new water systems while talking about building a future together. Even Woo-Jin and Princess Kira, whose fire-based relationship had started with literal explosions, had found perfect harmony in their complementary personalities. The political implications were staggering. Earth's population was fascinated by the idea that their species possessed unique partnership abilities. Other alien civilizations began requesting cultural exchanges and collaborative projects. The Galactic Council established the Human-Led Adaptive Partnership Division, with Tai-Ho as its first director. "What do you think happens next?" Princess Mira asked, as they planned their new role as galactic ambassadors. "I think we prove that. This wasn't just a lucky accident," Tai-Ho replied, looking up at stars that no longer seemed impossibly distant. "We show the galaxy that humans don't just adapt to survive. We adapt to help others thrive." 6 months later, Earth hosted its first interspecies partnership summit. Representatives from 12 different alien civilizations came to learn about human adaptive methods. The success stories were already beginning: a human-aquarian partnership that was terraforming dead ocean worlds, human crystalline teams that were developing new forms of living technology, and human ethereal collaborations that were revolutionizing communication across impossible distances. But for all the galactic recognition and political achievements, Tai-Ho's favorite moments were still the simple ones. Watching Mira teach human children how to experience gravity as a friend rather than a force. Seeing his teammates build lives that bridged 2 worlds. Realizing that humanity's greatest export to the galaxy wasn't technology or resources, it was the simple willingness to change, to grow, and to put love ahead of fear. As he stood before the United Nations, delivering his report on humanity's new role in galactic society, Tai-Ho smiled at a truth that would have seemed impossible just a year ago. Humans weren't just citizens of Earth anymore, they were citizens of the galaxy, with a unique gift for helping different species become more than they ever imagined possible. The future had never looked brighter, and it was just beginning.